Welcome. I need to be completely honest with you. This is not going to be one of those superficial videos where I just offer 5 quick tips for a better life and then vanish. This isn't about getting a temporary 10-minute burst of motivation that changes absolutely nothing. This conversation is about something far more significant, something much more foundational, because the subject we are exploring today is the critical divergence between living a deeply peaceful life and enduring a painfully reactive one. We currently exist in a world engineered to constantly provoke a response. People will insult you specifically because they seek to control your state of mind. They ignore you, hoping to mentally break you down. They will deliberately spread falsehoods just to witness your emotional collapse. And what do most people do? They react immediately, emotionally, loudly, and without thought. In doing so, they sacrifice their internal peace, surrender their sense of control, and lose their personal power. The devastating truth is that the majority never truly recognize the extent to which they are actively destroying the quality of their own lives through these unchecked reactions. Think about that single argument that irrevocably ruined a lifelong friendship. That one impulsive text message that abruptly terminated a relationship. That brief, uncontrolled moment of anger that fundamentally altered your entire path. That is why I am asking you today to slow down, take a breath, and truly listen. Because if you can deeply absorb the principles I am about to share, you will transition from merely surviving life to becoming untouchable. A person who is calm, immensely strong, sharply focused, and fundamentally peaceful. This transformation won't happen because the world suddenly became easy, but because you will have mastered the art of never again letting external forces dictate the state of your mind. This message isn't exclusively aimed at those seeking conventional success. It is for everyone who is genuinely exhausted by being constantly dismantled and broken by their own emotions. This is for individuals ready to finally reclaim their personal sovereignty and power. I make you this solemn promise. If you remain with me until the very end, you will gain an understanding of profound inner strength that most people fail to acquire over an entire lifetime. Furthermore, while this is powerful life advice, it is structured to also build powerful English language skills. Every word used is straightforward, yet every sentence imparts clarity and resilience. It's not just about learning to speak better. It's about learning to think with greater precision. Let us begin. Lesson 1. Reacting means you hand them control. When someone possesses the ability to instantly push a button and summon your anger, or when a single, casual sentence can completely hijack your entire mood, you are effectively yielding control. When you permit their insult, their calculated silence, or their judgment to genuinely shake your core, you are no longer the master of your own life. You are being manipulated, controlled exactly like a puppet, and your emotions serve as the strings they pull. Many mistakenly believe that a quick, sharp reaction signifies strength. However, reacting quickly is not evidence of personal power. It simply proves that you are exceptionally easy to manipulate. Every single time you react impulsively, without the benefit of thought, you are giving away something incredibly precious. Your peace of mind, your vital energy, and your inherent power. Now, pause and genuinely reflect. How many beautiful moments in your life have been utterly destroyed simply because you reacted too swiftly? How frequently have you screamed harsh words at someone you deeply loved, only to be consumed by immediate, crushing regret? How often did you reply to a text message fueled by rage, immediately wishing you could undo the damage? This, precisely, is what emotional slavery looks like. You may not be wearing physical chains on your wrists, but your most critical inner assets, your emotions, are being controlled and directed by the external world. And the absolute worst part? You are likely completely unaware of this subjugation. Consider this example. There was a dedicated young man working diligently in an office environment. He worked tirelessly, often stayed late, and meticulously adhered to every company rule. But one day, during a critical team meeting, His manager unfairly criticized him in front of all his colleagues. The critique was unjustified and untrue. In that split second, he completely exploded. He shouted, he argued fiercely, and he aggressively defended himself. Silence descended over the entire room, and the atmosphere became thick with tension. The manager eventually walked away calmly, and what happened to the young man? He instantly became known as the emotional guy, not the hardworking one, not the intelligent one. That single, immediate reaction obliterated the professional image he had carefully constructed over years. He didn't win the argument. He lost a significant part of his future because he allowed another person to dictate the mechanism of his response. The solution is simple yet revolutionary. The 5-second rule that changes absolutely everything. Here is the habit strong, centered people adopt. They pause. The next time someone disrespects you, lies about you, shouts at you, ignores you, or hurls an insult, do not speak. Do not move. Do not react. Simply breathe, inhale, and exhale for a full 5 seconds. Within those 5 seconds, you seize back the one asset that no one else should ever possess: your self-control. When you enforce that pause, something genuinely magical occurs. The initial, overwhelming surge of emotion begins to dissipate. The internal fire starts to subside, and your brain shifts from burning rage to reasoned thought. You can still choose to respond if necessary, but now your words will be strategically strong, not impulsively stupid. Your actions will be measured and wise, not chaotic and emotional. This single, deliberate habit, this one simple pause, will radically alter your entire life. In your relationships, in business negotiations, during confrontations, and amidst family drama. In every scenario, when you choose not to react, you are not being weak. You are demonstrating profound power. You become untouchable. You become free. Part 2. Lesson 2. Most reactions inevitably become regrets. There are specific moments in life that one message, that careless word, that loud shout, that single decision, all made in a rush of anger, fear, or mindlessness, which we desperately wish we could go back and delete. These are the moments we mentally carry for years. You don't actually carry the burden of the insult they threw at you. You carry the painful memory of how you reacted. You don't carry the weight of the failure. You carry the emotional breakdown you had when it occurred. You don't carry the original problem. You carry your chaotic emotional response to it. People frequently assume that a quick reaction proves they are authentic or honest, but the reality is that fast reactions originate from deep pain, not from genuine power. Reacting is fundamentally a survival mechanism. It is not the behavior of someone seeking deliberate growth. We scream because we feel diminished. We lash out with blame because we feel vulnerable and weak. We pick a fight because we are secretly hurting. But once that heated moment fades, what remains? Guilt, shame, and crushing regret. We begin the agonizing cycle of realizing, I should have just stayed silent. I should have taken a breath. I should have simply let that go. But by then, it is absolutely too late. Because reactions, once unleashed, cannot be retracted. Words spoken do not vanish. Actions taken do not disappear, and people definitely do not forget. Consider this deeply. How many meaningful people have you pushed away from your life simply because you reacted too quickly? How many needless arguments could have been effortlessly sidestepped? How many valuable relationships could have been saved? How many tranquil, peaceful days did you utterly destroy because you permitted one fleeting bad moment to assume control over you? And here is the most agonizing truth of all. Sometimes, you do not fully grasp the extent of what you lost until the damage is already irreparable. There was once a woman who cherished her younger sister. They were bonded tightly, almost like best friends. But one day, during a large family gathering, the sister made a careless, sarcastic comment about a deeply sensitive topic, a comment that grazed an old, unhealed emotional wound. In that very instant, the older woman spontaneously exploded. She shouted accusations in front of the entire family, uttering cruel words she could never retrieve, words that weren't based in truth but were overflowing with years of ancient pain and suppressed emotions. The family stood paralyzed in silence. The sister quickly left. Days and weeks passed, but their close relationship never recovered. Years later, that woman would frequently look at a cherished photograph of the two of them and weep, not because of the careless thing her sister had originally said, but because of the destructive way she, herself, had reacted. One fragile moment, one uncontrolled reaction, led to a lifetime of lingering regret. The solution is to deliberately train yourself to respond, not react. Understand that this is a fundamental shift in mindset, a muscle that must be worked, and a demanding daily discipline. When you encounter something painful, you must internalize and practice this single sentence. This emotion is real, but this reaction is a choice. Yes, you feel intensely hurt. Yes, the situation is grossly unfair. Yes, every fiber of your being wants to scream. But stop. Instead, pause. Firmly close your mouth. Keep your body still. Allow the emotion to rise up inside you, but refuse to let your body move. Feel it. Give yourself permission to experience the full force of the anger, the sadness, or the fear, but do so in complete silence. Name the emotion, then ask, am I reacting purely to this current moment, or am I being triggered by something old and unhealed that still resides within me? Wait 10 minutes, an hour, or even a full day. Then, and only then, choose to respond with clarity, with truth, with unwavering calm, and with genuine power. This singular habit has the potential to save your most important relationships, protect your inner peace, and fundamentally secure your future. Because while reacting might give the illusion of strength in the short term, inner peace is always stronger, and peace never generates regret. Part 3. Lesson 3. Silence is your superpower. The modern world is addicted to noise. People are endlessly talking, arguing, explaining, justifying, scrambling to prove they are right, struggling to win, and desperate to appear strong. But here is a profound truth that you will rarely hear in typical motivational videos. The truly strongest people are never the loudest ones. They are the quiet, centered individuals who possess such conviction that they have no need to speak merely to prove a point. You must understand that silence is heavily misunderstood. Many people equate silence with weakness, believing that if you are quiet, you must be fearful, or if you walk away, you must be terrified. The opposite is fundamentally true. It demands far greater strength to remain perfectly calm than it does to shout. It requires infinitely more wisdom to disengage and walk away than to participate in a pointless argument. It takes immense power to choose to say nothing when every internal impulse urges you to fight. Silence is control. Silence is laser-like focus. Silence is intrinsic dignity, because when you maintain silence, others are deprived of vital information. They cannot know what you are thinking. They cannot anticipate your next move. They are left guessing whether they succeeded in hurting you or if you have already decisively won the internal battle. And that calculated mystery is power. For instance, imagine a man who is publicly humiliated on social media by a former friend, a barrage of fake stories, manipulated screenshots, and pure character assassination. Everyone in his circle expected him to furiously fight back. They waited for him to post his lengthy side of the story, go live to rant, or immediately reply. But he did nothing. He said absolutely nothing. People called him weak, a coward, or assumed he was guilty. Yet he maintained his resolute silence. 6 months later, the complete truth was revealed when the lying friend was exposed by a separate party. Suddenly, the man's prior silence was recognized for what it was: dignity, class, and true strength. Because while everyone else was focused on the screaming match, he was quietly ensuring his eventual victory. The solution is simple. Utilize silence as an intentional weapon, never as a sign of weakness. You have no obligation to respond to every single insult hurled your way. You do not need to exhaust yourself explaining your position to people who have already firmly decided they misunderstand you. You never need to post, message, defend, or fight aggressively for your inherent dignity. Sometimes, the most powerfully assertive thing you can possibly do is say nothing at all. Allow your measured silence to resonate louder than your most carefully chosen words ever could. Here is how to employ silence as power. In a verbal conflict, simply say, "I understand," and then calmly disengage. Don't argue. Let the weight of their own aggressive words be the consequence that burns them. In public drama, refuse to join the noise. Step back and let the unvarnished truth surface organically. When facing direct disrespect, do not shout, do not cry, and do not offer explanations. Look the offender directly in the eyes and say nothing. People will inevitably notice this poise, and when they do, you win not by stooping to react, but by gracefully rising entirely above the fray. Part 4. Lesson 4. Not everything deserves your energy. One of the most common and critical errors people make in life is attempting to engage in every single battle. They try to defend themselves in every minor argument, prove their self-worth to every single critic, and respond painstakingly to every message, insult, or slight misunderstanding. While this impulse might superficially appear brave or thorough, it is, in reality, the most efficient method of destroying your vital energy, shattering your peace, fracturing your focus, and jeopardizing your future. Here is the principle you must internalize. Not every situation is worth your valuable time. Not every person is worthy of a reaction from you. Not every problem warrants your intense emotional investment. You operate with a fundamentally limited amount of energy each day, and every single time you donate it to the wrong person or problem, you have exponentially less remaining for the things that truly matter. You spend your energy on senseless gossip, and you instantly lose energy designated for your goals. You dedicate energy to hatred, and you deplete the capacity you have for love. You consistently give your energy to things that drain you, and then you perplexedly wonder why you feel perpetually empty. Certain individuals actively seek your reaction, not because they harbor any genuine concern for you, but because it satisfies their ego to see you disturbed, emotionally triggered, or broken. They do not desire peace. They crave drama. And, if you persistently step into their chaotic world, you will never possess the time or focus required to construct your own. Take the example of a college student who was bright, highly disciplined, and intensely focused. She routinely stayed up studying hard, preparing for a promising future. But one day, rumors were maliciously spread about her, alleging she had cheated on an exam. Her name was whispered with suspicion. People began treating her differently. Some close acquaintances ceased speaking to her entirely. She became furiously angry. She wrote lengthy explanations online, desperately trying to vindicate herself to everyone. She cried herself to sleep, despairing why no one believed her truth. Weeks passed, and she lost all focus. She stopped studying, she stopped dreaming, and she became consumed by bitterness, all because she donated her precious energy to something she should have immediately walked away from. She could have simply said nothing. She could have allowed her consistent actions to speak for her character. Instead, she threw away her energy on people who never deserved a fraction of it. Years later, she offered this heartbreaking summation. "I didn't lose because of what they said. I lost because I tried desperately to fix what genuinely did not matter." The solution is to learn to protect your energy as if it were pure gold. Here is the concrete discipline you must adopt. Mentally create a short list of things that truly deserve your energy today. If a situation is not on that priority list, immediately walk away from it. Don't fight small battles. Your purpose here is not to win every minor argument. Your purpose is to win the overall trajectory of your life. Stop wasting effort explaining yourself to individuals who are fundamentally committed to misunderstanding you. If they have already passed judgment, no amount of careful explanation will alter their view. Respond only in contexts where genuine positive growth is possible. If a conversation fails to help you rise, recognize it as a deliberate trap. This behavior is not weakness. It is the highest form of wisdom. You are never obliged to show up for every fight to which you are invited, because lasting peace is not achieved by winning every single battle. Peace is profoundly found in knowing precisely which battles are not worth fighting at all. Part 5. Lesson 5. The person who remains calm wins. The world naturally holds immense respect for those who maintain absolute composure, even when chaos is erupting all around them. Calm people are inherently trusted, deeply respected, and consistently make superior decisions, forge better relationships, and live exponentially stronger lives. Why? Because when you remain calm, you retain total ownership of your power. When you remain calm, your perception is crystal clear. When you remain calm, you automatically become the leader in any room, regardless of whether you speak a single word. Most people navigate life like uncontrolled storms. They shout, panic, weep, assign blame, react impulsively, lose control, and then are confused when their efforts fail. But the individual who stays calm becomes the definitive opposite of the storm. They are the profound stillness that ultimately frightens the storm away. Calmness does not imply a lack of feeling or a detachment from pain. It means you have developed the strength to hold and process your pain with resilience, rather than succumbing to panic. For example, imagine a crowded commuter train. Suddenly, an aggressive man enters the carriage drunk, clearly enraged, shoving people and shouting wildly. Everyone instantly became tense. Some passengers shouted aggressive responses, others scrambled to move away. A few began recording the scene. But one older gentleman remained perfectly still, completely calm, and visibly unshaken. The angry man inevitably approached him, squaring up for a fight. The old man met his eyes and said, in a quiet, steady voice, "Whatever terrible thing happened to you today, I am truly sorry that it drove you to this point." The drunk man froze. His fists slowly unclenched, his harsh eyes softened, and he sank into a seat and wept. The entire train was silent, because one calm man had utterly transformed the emotional energy of the entire space. He did not react. He did not engage in a fight. He simply understood the fundamental truth that others missed. This is not about me. This is the profound realization that calm people possess, that not every external storm must be permitted to ignite a corresponding internal storm. The solution is to actively build the rigorous discipline of calmness. Calmness is not an innate state. You must train for it, much like a warrior trains relentlessly for battle. Here is your regimen. Breathe deeply and frequently. Breathing is not merely a reflexive habit. It is a tactical weapon. When your body achieves calm through breath, your mind is forced to listen. Observe before you speak. Allow people to fully reveal their nature. Allow situations to completely unfold, and only then respond with carefully devised strategy, not with fleeting emotion. Detach emotionally before you take action. Ask yourself, am I preparing to act from objective truth or from old pain? If the source is pain, wait. If the source is truth, proceed. Practice calmness in the face of minor annoyances, a spilled cup of coffee, a delayed train, a rude text message. These are your essential training sessions. The more consistently you practice calmness amidst small storms, the more prepared and resilient you will be when life inevitably hurls the major ones your way. Remember this absolute truth. Anyone can scream. Anyone can cry. Anyone can panic. But the individual who can sit composedly amidst the metaphorical fire, still seeing clearly, still speaking gently, still moving wisely, that person wins. Because life, without exception, always bends to the will of the calm mind, never the loud one. Part 6. Lesson 6. Reaction is habit. Response is power. Most people fail to grasp this distinction. They aren't reacting because they are currently angry. They are reacting because reaction has become their deeply ingrained habit. It is entirely automatic, purely emotional, and no longer constitutes a conscious choice. When an action solidifies into a habit, you cease questioning it. You simply execute it. Someone disrespects you, so you immediately fight back. Someone ignores you, so you start to cry. Someone cuts you off in traffic, so you instantly scream. You never pause to genuinely ask, do I need to react to this? You just react because that is the behavioral script you have always followed. But here is the profound truth. Reaction is instinctual and automatic. Response is intentional and chosen. And only one of those paths leads reliably to lasting peace, genuine success, earned respect, and personal power. Let's delineate the difference. A reaction is fast, emotional, and completely uncontrolled. It springs from a place of unhealed internal wounding. A response is calm, clear-headed, and profoundly conscious. It emanates from a place of true inner power. The individual who merely reacts is akin to a volcano, loud, volatile, and destructive. But the individual who chooses to respond is like the deep ocean, immeasurably deep, unshakably steady, and ultimately untouchable. You must ask yourself this critical question today. Are you reacting like an unconscious machine, or are you responding like a conscious master? Because those who respond intentionally rule their lives, while those who react impulsively are ruled entirely by their emotions. Take the compelling example of a young man who worked as a waiter in a bustling high-end restaurant. He was inherently kind, focused on his tasks, and consistently respectful. One evening, an affluent customer entered rude, entitled, and highly demanding. The customer impatiently snapped his fingers for service, barked his orders, and finally, when his food was slightly delayed, he yelled across the entire dining room, "Are you deaf, stupid, or simply lazy?" The entire restaurant immediately froze. Every person present expected the young waiter to fiercely fight back, to react defensively, or to try and justify himself. But he did not. He looked directly at the customer, offered a slight smile, and said with calm, unwavering eye contact, "Sir, I am doing my absolute best. If that performance is not sufficient for your needs today, I certainly understand. However, I will continue to serve you with complete respect, because that is simply who I am." The room fell into reverent silence. The customer, who had entered exuding perceived power, suddenly looked petty and small. The waiter, who moments earlier seemed powerless, now stood immensely tall. The manager, having witnessed the entire exchange, offered the young man a significant promotion that very night. Why? Because the waiter had internalized the truth that most people never learn. Reaction is purely instinct. Response is profound wisdom. The deep reason we react. We react only when we are profoundly unaware of our inner wounds. If you were consistently ignored as a child, you will inevitably overreact today when you feel overlooked. If you experienced public humiliation years ago, you will overreact dramatically to even the smallest perceived disrespect now. If you were abandoned, you will overreact to any distance that occurs in a current relationship. Therefore, reacting is rarely about the person standing directly in front of you. It is about the unhealed pain residing deep inside you. Until you accept and understand this fact, you will continue to react explosively to situations that do not deserve your emotional pain and you will continue to surrender your valuable peace to circumstances that warrant zero attention. The solution is to transition reaction into heightened awareness, and then transform awareness into intentional response. You possess the ability to break this toxic habit. You can fully reprogram your mind. Here is the mechanism. Pause before doing anything, even if it is just one single deep breath. Take that breath. It breaks the chain of automatic reaction. That one breath creates critical space, and space is the precise location where power resides. Ask yourself one definitive question. Is this emotional surge about the current moment, or is it about something old? So often, the sheer intensity of the emotion you feel is not genuinely tied to the present circumstance. It is a painful memory, a chronic wound, or an old trigger. Awareness is the precise tool you use to take back ultimate control. Respond with unwavering truth, not with unstable emotion. Truth is inherently strong. Emotion is fundamentally unstable. Speak only when your truth is entirely clear and your heart is thoroughly calm. Practice response daily, even in the smallest possible events. Train yourself when someone cuts you off aggressively in traffic. Train yourself when your friend forgets to text back. Train yourself when life feels unfair. Each moment is practice. Each conscious breath is a chance to become significantly stronger. The world does not require more reactors. It desperately needs more responders. Because the people who remain calm, the people who intentionally choose awareness over blind anger, the people who think strategically before they speak and feel thoroughly before they act, those are the ones who truly rise. Those are the ones who lead. Those are the ones who are profoundly remembered, not for their chaos and noise, but for their unbreakable grace. And now, the choice is fundamentally yours. Will you continue reacting automatically from the raw pain of your past, or will you consciously begin responding from the genuine strength of your future? Part 7. Lesson 7. If you desire peace, you must let go of ego. There is a specific reason why people endure such profound suffering in silence. It is not always due to physical pain. It is not always due to immediate fear. It is often not even due to the actions of others. Most frequently, the suffering is caused by the ego, that quiet, yet pervasive, invisible voice inside that insists, "They should have treated me better. I have to prove I was absolutely right. I deserve far more respect. They do not truly see my value, and that injustice hurts me. I cannot allow them to win." And so, you react, you respond, you fight, and you endlessly explain yourself, not because the action is necessary, but because your demanding ego is burning for external validation and attention. But what you utterly fail to realize is that the ego is not your source of power. The ego is your self-made prison. It is the core reason you remain stuck, perpetually angry, bitterly resentful, and utterly unfree. The ego constantly craves to be seen, loved, admired, respected, and lavishly praised. But when the unpredictable world fails to provide those things, and it inevitably will, the ego panics. And when the ego panics, you react impulsively. You shout fiercely in the middle of an argument because your ego dictates, "They cannot talk to me like that." You reply aggressively to a petty hate comment because your ego demands, "They have no idea who I am." You exhaust yourself explaining your side in every minor skirmish because your ego screams, "I must defend myself at all costs." But here is the simple, powerful truth. Nobody outside of yourself wants to hear it. You have no need to exhaustively defend what is already real. You do not need to struggle to prove what already exists. And you absolutely do not need to be loud in order to be right. The moment you intentionally drop the burden of the ego, you immediately rise, because the ego only thrives in pain. But your true self, your soul, lives eternally in peace. Consider the example of a man who devoted years of his life working for a large corporation. He gave everything. his time, his health, his loyalty. But one morning, without any warning whatsoever, the company replaced him. No apology, no acknowledgement, no gratitude. He was immediately consumed with blinding rage. His ego screamed, "How could they do this to me? Don't they know all that I sacrificed?" He desperately wanted to go public, to expose the company, to exact comprehensive revenge. But before he acted, he sought counsel from his grandmother, a woman who had endured wars, profound betrayals, and deep poverty, yet still carried a visible peace in her eyes. She offered him this simple, timeless advice. "My child, listen to me very carefully. You do not heal the damage by attempting to prove others were wrong. You heal by definitively proving to yourself that their actions will not control your future." Those powerful words changed the man forever. He chose not to fight, not to attack. Instead, he walked away in silence, maintaining his dignity and clarity of purpose. 6 months later, he quietly and consistently launched his own company. Years passed, and he ultimately achieved far greater success than the very people who had betrayed him, all because he prioritized releasing his ego and holding steadfastly to his peace. Why does ego compel you to react? Because the ego is inherently loud. It cannot gracefully accept disrespect. It refuses to tolerate rejection. And it certainly cannot survive the profound discomfort of silence. Therefore, every time someone challenges your intrinsic worth, every time someone overlooks or forgets your value, or every time someone walks away without providing an explanation, your ego immediately bursts into a destructive explosion. But here lies the true danger. While your ego demands revenge, your soul fundamentally desires freedom. If you consistently choose to follow the ego, you will inevitably sacrifice your inner peace. You will find yourself reacting defensively to every careless comment, arguing ceaselessly with every fool, and ultimately destroying vital relationships simply for the shallow satisfaction of winning temporary verbal wars. Yet, when the conflict finally subsides, you will be left utterly alone, accompanied only by your demanding ego and devoid of any genuine peace. The powerful solution is this: quiet the ego and choose peace every single time. This is perhaps the single most important action you can take. You simply cannot master your emotions effectively if you refuse to confront the nature of your own ego. Learn to identify that voice. The very moment you feel the powerful urge to prove yourself, to fight, to attack, or to over-explain, pause immediately and ask yourself this crucial question: is this my authentic soul speaking, or is this merely my ego screaming for attention? Allow people to be wrong about you. It is a difficult discipline, but it is incredibly powerful. Not everyone has earned or deserves full access to the truth of who you are. Let them misunderstand you. Let them talk about you. You are not obligated to provide everyone with a curated version of yourself solely designed to make them feel comfortable. Stop fighting so desperately just to be right. The compulsive need to always win an argument is often the very reason we remain stuck, tethered to the wrong, destructive energy. Ask yourself honestly, what is truly more important right now? Is it the fleeting satisfaction of being right, or the lasting foundation of being at peace? Where the ego desperately wants to scream, choose powerful silence instead. The next time someone disrespects you and you feel that internal fire rising within your chest, take a deep breath, offer a quiet smile, and simply walk away. Do this not because you are weak, but precisely because you are no longer ruled by something as inherently volatile and fragile as the ego. Remember that your fundamental worth is not a subject open for debate. You do not need to react aggressively to prove it, nor do you need to loudly speak up to protect it. You simply need to live it with calmness, with profound clarity, and with unshakable, quiet confidence. When you finally choose to release the grip of the ego, something truly beautiful begins to unfold. You cease chasing external validation. You stop reacting instantly to every piece of surrounding noise, and you stop desperately attempting to prove your inherent worth. For the very first time in your life, you will feel intensely light, genuinely free, and utterly unshakable. This is because peace does not reside in the loud, chaotic spaces. It lives within the still, the calm, the quiet heart. A heart that no longer feels the pressing need to win every single argument. That deep, centered strength is the kind that most people never manage to find, but you have just discovered it. Now, you must choose it not just once or twice, but intentionally every single day. Understand this essential truth. The less you feel the need to react, the more true power you inherently possess, and the less burdensome ego you carry, the more enduring peace you will feel forever. Now you understand the liberating truth. You do not need to react to every stimulus. You do not need to fight every petty battle. And you certainly don't need to prove your worth to people who failed to recognize it in the first place. You are under no obligation to shoulder the weight of the noise, the drama, or the unnecessary pain simply because the world hurls it at you. You are significantly more than your habitual reactions. You are more profound than your transient anger. You are greater than the storms that inevitably come and go. You are calm, you are deep, you are steady, and from this moment forward, you are finally free. From this pivotal moment forward, may you never sacrifice your peace again, not for any reason, not for anyone. May your chosen silence become your greatest strength. May your inherent calmness become your source of unwavering confidence. And may your practiced wisdom become your essential way of life. Whenever the world attempts to violently pull you back into its chaos, pause, breathe deeply, and remember precisely who you are. You do not belong in the noise. You were created for something far greater. For peace, for purpose, and for quiet, enduring power. So stay still, stay true to yourself, and keep rising silently. Because sometimes, the most profound and loudest statement you can ever make is to say nothing at all. Thank you for watching this message. I am genuinely proud of the journey you are on. And from my heart to yours, may God bless you with profound strength, deep peace, and a life that absolutely no external reaction can ever destroy. Take excellent care of your mind, fiercely protect your soul, and never ever forget. You are not weak for staying calm. You are powerful beyond measure. Until next time, stay strong, stay silent, and stay free.